Well, I was brought up in a Christian home in South Wales, and that was a very good experience. Um, God was very much a reality in our home. When I was afraid of the dark, my mother would say to me, "We can pray about this, Chris," and we would do that. So I accepted from my parents that God was real, that the gospel was true, that Jesus was who he claimed to be. That's how things were till I was about 17. And then when I was in the sixth form, I really, for the first time, felt the pull of the non-Christian world. And my friends were all going to nightclubs, getting drunk a lot, sleeping around. And I asked myself quite seriously, did I want to be a Christian? Or did I want to do the things that my friends were doing? And for about 3 months, I experimented in the non-Christian world. And I carried on going to church, but I wasn't really living as a Christian. And in a way, I enjoyed myself for 3 months. And then one night, I was in a nightclub in Bridgend, where I come from, called Benz. It was a Mercedes-Benz theme. There was a Mercedes-Benz car on the side of the wall. And I'd gone there quite a few times. The music was extremely loud, and people were sort of peering off all around the outside of the nightclub. And as the music played, they blasted what sounded to me like a kind of foghorn. And it was so loud that it made me think, do I really want to be here? Is this life? And I think at that moment, I realised how unsatisfying it was to go out, get drunk and so on. And so I came back to God. So for the first time, I faced up to the moral challenge of being a Christian. And my faith became an adult faith, because I was deciding for myself, I did want to live with Jesus as my king. I didn't want these other things that were on offer. Then I went to Oxford University and I studied history, which is a good experience. And my faith was challenged academically, intellectually. And I did a special paper on 19th century Christian thought. And I read Thomas Arnold, who was one of the first liberal Christians. And he was really trying to hold together Orthodox Christianity with a new understanding of science and philosophy and so on. And I quite enjoyed Thomas Arnold. Then about 30 years later, his son Matthew Arnold wrote, and he was a much more extreme liberal. And he was really saying that the Christian faith is not true at all. You can't trust the Bible. And I read this and I thought, crumbs, maybe it's not all true. And for a whole academic year, I had really severe doubt. I carried on praying. I carried on reading my Bible. I carried on going to church. I carried on serving God. I was involved in leading the Christian group in the university. But I didn't know if it was true. And the only person who knew about this was Becca, who is now my wife. I was actually too ashamed to admit it, that I was having these dreadful doubts. And I had to really work hard at asking the question, is the Christian faith true? What is the intellectual basis for it? And I worked this through over an academic year. And at the end of that year, I actually had an experience in my room. I was praying, and God simply became real to me in a way that he hadn't before. And it kind of brought an end to that period of doubt. So I'd faced up to the moral challenge of being Christian. I'd faced up to the intellectual challenge. And my faith was no longer simply that which my parents had taught me, but it was something which I'd come to own as a 21-year-old adult.